So when we say statistical description, that means there is some uncertainty which we want to show, which we want to express by some sort of averagings or finding the standard deviation, these types of parameters. So one of the most important or most fundamental and sometimes considered to be the easiest statistical description is averaging. So we are now going to discuss about some concepts of averaging in a turbulent flow. So to have a qualitative picture, let us say that you are plotting the velocity as a function of time. So if you are having a turbulent flow, maybe you are having this type of a random fluctuation in velocity as a function of time. It might so happen that you are not interested about this randomness, you are interested to see that how it is on an average. But the question is, if you want to find out average over a given period of time, what is that time? So the average over a given period of time, so if you want to find out say U average. So U average is what? You must integrate U with respect to time over a time interval, say a time interval of say time equal to 0 to time equal to capital T, divide it by T and take some limit. Formally it is written as limit capital T tends to infinity. What is the meaning of this infinity? That we have to understand. So this is a formal definition of something known as time average. So time average at a given location. So time average at a given location, that means this U naught is a this U is a function of a given position, say x naught, and this U what we are writing inside is a function of both position and time. So U as a function of x naught and time. The time effect has got nullified by integration with respect to time, so this is only at a fixed position. So now this time scale, what is this time scale? See, the turbulence fluctuations have very small time scales. So you can see that over very short time it is having a very rapid fluctuation. So if you want to average it out, you must take a time scale which is much larger than the characteristic time scales over which the turbulent fluctuations are there, so that turbulent fluctuations are averaged out or smoothed out. And that means that with respect to these turbulent fluctuations, this time scale is like infinity, very large. So this infinity is not in a literal sense, this is with respect to the locally fluctuating time scales, but this should also be much less than the system length scale, a system time scale. The system time scale says from here to here there is some change. So now if you consider this time scale as the entire system time scale, then you will not be able to capture the transiences in the average sense. So that means you will lose all the information and come up with a single value if you come up with the, so if you average over the entire time. So the time period over which you are averaging is very critical. It should not be too small so that still it is within the range of the individual turbulent fluctuations, but it should not be too large so that you can resolve the transiences on an average. So it should be something in between, it should not be as large as the system time scale, but it should not be as small as the individual turbulent fluctuation time scale. So if you now make a sort of this type of averaging and plot U bar, then it is possible, say you get the U bar like this, and U bar maybe in this example U bar is not changing with time. So this type of case where the actual thing is time dependent, but on a statistically average sense the average is not a function of time, this is known as stationary turbulence or steady turbulence. Usually we use the term stationary turbulence because steady is a misnomer, turbulent flow is never steady. So but the meaning is like stationary is like time independent. So this means time independent average behavior, it does not mean time independent actual behavior, only on a statistically average sense this is not a function of time. But it is also possible to have it a different way. Let us say that you have an average like this, and on the top of that say you have fluctuations like this. So, the line which is drawn with a blue is an indicator that you may have a turbulent flow which may be having a time average which is not a constant, which is varying with time. So, the solid line which is going through the middle is an indicator, or maybe let us just mark it with a different color. So, if we mark it with this particular color, so this example is a case where it is not a stationary turbulence. So, this is a stationary turbulence, but the other is not. So, after time averaging you may still get time dependence, but that time dependence is over a time scale which is important for the system, and that is not that is something we need to keep in mind. So, this is called as time averaging. Similarly, you may also go for a space averaging. So, what is space averaging? Very similar. So, space averaging is averaging with respect to space or position at a given instant of time. So, very similar, just swap the space and the time variables. So, now what we are doing, at a given time we are taking the data at different spatial locations and finding an average out of that. In experiments we usually are not very careful about time averaging and space averaging, but in experiments whatever averaging we do intuitively is known as ensemble averaging. So, let us see what is an ensemble average. What is an ensemble? So, if you do a large number of experiments with identical conditions, so that is called as an ensemble. So, let us say that we are doing an experiment where we want to find out the velocity variation as a function of time and position. So, what we do, so let us say that we have a pipe at a given location, so there could be many locations. Let us say that this is one location, at this location we want to measure velocity as a function of time. So, we are doing one experiment where we are doing it, again we are doing another experiment, then we are getting a reading at this point. These experiments are all done at identical conditions, but because of the randomness the output is not identical, because there could be slight variations in the experimental conditions and those got amplified, that is like an instability that is there in a turbulent flow. So, therefore, if you repeat such experiments, for each experiment you will get some sort of data or information at your identified points at a given instant of time, and you can make an average prediction out of all experiments, and that average prediction out of all experiments is known as ensemble average. You have to keep in mind that these experiments must be performed under identical conditions. So, identical conditions you are, but the irony is you are believing it is identical condition, but there is always a slight perturbation or slight difference from one condition to the other which is making it deviated from the exactly identical condition. So, when you have ensemble average, it means averaging from a large number of experiments conducted under identical conditions. Okay. So, when you say averaging from a large number of experiments conducted under identical conditions, we will also try to understand the implications of this averaging and the relationships with time averaging and space averaging for certain special cases. We will come to those special cases subsequently. Now when you have an average, you also have a deviation from the average. In a statistical sense, that is represented by the RMS or the standard deviation. So now if you write, say, the x component of velocity as an example, say as u average plus u prime. So this is the average. So when we are saying this as average, we are not committing what sort of average. It could be time average, space average, ensemble average, whatever, but with respect to average there is always a fluctuation. So this is average and this is fluctuation. In most of the textbooks, the average is written by an uppercase and the fluctuation is written by a lowercase or something like that. But like when we write in the board, it is very difficult to distinguish between the uppercase and the lowercase. So we are going to use this the prime for the fluctuation and the bar for the average. In some cases for the average this type of breast symbol is also used. So this is a typical symbol for ensemble average, but again I mean one may use any either this sort of symbol or the over bar, I mean either is fine as a notation for averaging. So if you want to find out what is the RMS, so first of all you want to find out that, so what is RMS? So root mean square deviation. So first is the deviation. So deviation from what? Deviation from the mean. So deviation from the mean is u minus u bar, that is u prime. So you have to find out the summation of this and squares, basically squares of the individuals and the summations, and then so you sum it up, divide it by the number of data, and that will give you the square of the standard deviation and or the variance, and the square root of that is the standard deviation. So basically you are making an averaging of this. So all those expressions we are representing by this. So basically summing up of this data over a number of data and dividing by the same number of data is averaging. But why we are using this symbol is because the averaging may not always be on a discrete data, it may be on a statistical sense with a probability distribution function. So we do not know that whether it is on a discrete set of data that you are doing it, or you are fitting the data with a probability function and then finding out an average with that probability function. So we are not committing with any specific definition of averaging, but just marking it with this one. So when you do that, it is like the mean square deviation, and when you make a square root, it is the root mean square deviation. So the RMS of u is like this one. Okay. Similarly, you will have RMS of v and RMS of w for the velocity components along the 3 directions. There is some important terminology called as isotropic turbulence. What is isotropic turbulence? Isotropic turbulence means that the turbulence statistics are independent of direction. That means the RMS values of the velocities should be direction independent. That means whatever is RMS of u, same should be RMS of v and same should be RMS of w. So that means you must have so this is directional independence of turbulence statistics. Why the directional independence of turbulence statistics is going to be important? Because it may enable us in simplifying certain considerations when we are mathematically modeling a turbulent flow. So we have to keep in mind that when you consider the averaging, so if you consider the averaging of say u prime, what is this? Say you want to find out the average of u prime, let us say time average. So what will you do? This one, right, but what is its value? Let us say we want to find out what is the average of u. So average of u is limit as, okay, with the limit and other things we will write later on. So u is u bar plus u prime with whatever limit. So the first term, see, u bar is like an average which is not varying with this time. So the first term becomes u bar. So u bar integral of dt from 0 to capital T by 0 by capital T. So u bar into t by t, that gets cancelled out. So plus this one, that means the fluctuation of this must be 0, average. So average of the fluctuation is 0, that is why it is a fluctuation, random fluctuation, its average over that time must be 0, but the average of u prime square or v prime square or w prime square is not 0. So the average of product of the two fluctuations, that will not be 0, that we have to keep in mind. Now, so we have introduced a terminology of isotropic turbulence, and similarly we may introduce a terminology of homogeneous turbulence. So what is homogeneous turbulence? Just by the name it is clear that the turbulence statistics are independent of position, just like isotropic it is independent of direction. So this is direction position independent turbulence statistics. Turbulence, it is better to say turbulence statistics. Okay. Now let us consider a stationary turbulence. So that is also another terminology, and stationary turbulence means you have the mean is independent of time or the average value is independent of time, that is stationary turbulence. So for a stationary turbulence, what we may say is that if you are doing a time averaging, then the time average value is what? The time average value, if you repeat a many number of experiments, then the time average value is as good as ensemble averaging. That means at a given point, if you record the data and average the data at different times, so that doing the data at different times is as good as doing the identical experiment at different conditions, because the average should not vary with time for a stationary turbulence. So for a stationary turbulence, if you are doing the experiment at different time, only you are allowing the random fluctuations to be there as a function of time, average is independent of time, and the random fluctuations are those which make one experiment different from the other at a point. Therefore if you do identical experiments and if you get an average of that at a given location with respect to number of experiments, that is as good as time averaging for a stationary turbulence. That means for a stationary turbulence you have the time averaging same as ensemble averaging. So stationary turbulence will have a conclusion that the time average equal to ensemble average. If you have a homogeneous turbulence, then Homogeneous turbulence is where you have the turbulence statistics position independent. So when you have turbulence statistics position independent, that means at a given time if you do the experiment at different positions. So if you do the experiment at different positions, then what happens? So at a given time you are doing the experiment just at different positions, but different positions have the same behavior in terms of the average. That means doing the experiment at a time at different positions is just like doing different simulated experiments at different positions. So that means for homogeneous turbulence you must have the space average equal to ensemble average, because varying over space is just like having identical experiments in terms of the mean characteristics. The mean characteristics should not be function of position for homogeneous turbulence, only fluctuations are functions of position. So if you have a stationary plus homogeneous turbulence, then you must have time average equal to space average equal to ensemble average, right. So homogeneous plus stationary turbulence will imply that you must have the time average equal to space average equal to ensemble average, and this is known as ergodic hypothesis. Okay. So we have looked into the averaging and the finding out the RMS of different quantities, and of course one may do certain other statistical operations using the features of turbulent flow, and one of those important features that we will consider is by developing a correlation in the turbulent flow. So a correlation and correlation coefficient for turbulent flow. Let us say that you have a random variable capital X. So when you have a random variable, we say what is a random variable? The outcome of a random experiment which depends on chance. So if there is a variable which has its outcome dependent on chance or probability, so that is a random variable. Now if you have a random variable at a time say t1 and another random variable say y at a time t2, then if you just make a product of these and find the average, it sort of represents the average correlation between the random variables x and y at times t1 and t2. If x and y are the same random variables, then it is called as a autocorrelation. So autocorrelation when you have x and y same random variables. So what it basically tries to represent. So if you have the feature of a random variable at a particular time, and if you have the feature of the same random variable at a different instant of time, you are trying to see that how these two features are correlated. That means say what is happening now and maybe say what is happening after 20 seconds or 10 seconds or 100 seconds. So if those outcomes are there, and if you make a product of those outcomes and average it over all possible data sets, then what average information you get is that on an average how the events are correlated, and if the same event is there, that means if the random variable x and y are same, then how the outcome of the random experiment at time t1 is related to the outcome or correlated with the outcome of the random experiment at t2. If it is a stationary turbulence, then it does not matter what is the origin of this t1. So you may have say x at t and say x at t plus an additional time tau. So this t is immaterial, the origin of this t is immaterial if it is a stationary turbulence, that means the turbulence statistics are not function of time. So then for stationary turbulence, for stationary case you are able to write the correlation in this way. Now what is this random variable? The random variable that we are looking for here is mostly the velocity. So let us say that we are looking for the velocity or maybe one of the velocity fluctuations. So this is known as the autocorrelation of u prime. Okay. So when you have the autocorrelation of u prime, the important thing is that this may be normalized or this may be expressed in terms of a so called non-dimensional manner, because it is like velocity square. So if you normalize it, the normalization is with respect to the mean square deviation. So that means if you want to write it in terms of a coefficient, so this if you call as say, if you give it a name say capital R, which is a function of tau, then you may have small r which is again a function of tau, which is capital R divided by maybe this one. This is known as autocorrelation coefficient. So if you have a autocorrelation coefficient, this is just like having a normalized way of writing the correlation coefficient, and it may be shown that its magnitude is always between 0 to 1 by a Schwarz inequality, which is commonly used in statistics. So this will be normalized always between 0 to 1. Now it is also possible to have a sort of Fourier transformation of the autocorrelation coefficient into some frequency domain, and that is possible like if you have say for example if you consider a transformation like this. So So this is known as energy spectrum of the turbulence, and we will see that why it is so. And with the inverse Fourier transform it is also possible to recover the R. So okay. So when you have this one, so if you sorry this is minus and this is plus, okay. Now when you consider the special case of tau equal to 0, so if you consider tau equal to 0 and say you are, since it is stationary turbulence you do not care what is this t, so you may also consider t equal to 0 because the statistics will not be function of time. So when you have t equal to 0 and also say tau equal to 0, then your r tau will become u prime square, right, mean of u prime square. So u prime into u prime at 0. So then what does this represent? S omega at tau equal to 0 or S0. So S0 will be nothing but a represented, or let us say you put omega equal to 0, okay. So just put omega equal to 0. So if you have S0, what does it represent? To understand that, let us first put what is R equal to, what is R at tau equal to 0, that will be easier for you to follow first. So first let us say what is R0. So what is R0? Minus infinity to infinity S omega d omega, right, and that from the definition of R is this one, right. Therefore what we may conclude out of this, that whatever we consider as energy spectrum, the integral of the energy spectrum over all possible frequencies is an indicator of the RMS of the velocity fluctuations, right. So that is how, so the Fourier series analysis is important because you may mathematically get this easily if you know the power spectrum, energy spectrum distribution, and from that directly you get a statistical behavior of the RMS of the correlations. Now the big question is that why we are going for all these statistics, why it is necessary. So that question is the ultimate question for analyzing turbulence. See, the turbulent flow may be approached or solved by the Navier-Stokes equation. So if somebody asks you a question, are the Navier-Stokes equation valid for turbulent flow? Very much valid. But what makes it almost intractable for solving the turbulent flow problems? One of the important things is a wide range of length scales and time scales. So if you want to resolve such a big range of length scale and time scale by a solution strategy, that is very tedious. Not only that, there is a whole lot of uncertainty about the sensitive dependence on the initial conditions or the experimental conditions or the boundary conditions. So if there is a slight perturbation, the perturbation will get amplified, and therefore if you exactly know what is the initial condition and boundary condition, your Navier-Stokes equation will still give the exact solution. But if you do not know, then the Navier-Stokes equation will not give the solution based on the experimental condition that you are simulating, no matter whether you are resolving whatever scales. So in principle equations are applicable, but because of the uncertainties and strongly sensitive dependence to slight perturbations from the initial and boundary conditions, the outcome is not something which is acceptable, and that acceptability becomes more and more vulnerable as you are not able to resolve all these length scales and time scales. So what is the alternative? Alternative is you go for a statistical description, but the thing is that when you go for a statistical description, we will see that in terms of statistical behavior, turbulence will be deterministic. That is, you may have randomly fluctuating variables, but the statistical descriptions are not random, they are deterministic. But we will see that a problem will come that the governing equations will not be closed. So this is an irony that in terms of the statistical description, you have the governing equations which are sort of deterministic, but they are not apparently closed. On the other hand, in terms of the actual variables, the governing equations are perfect, they are closed, but they are not deterministically solvable. So this type of dilemma is there, and that is why understanding turbulence through mathematics is one of the very difficult things, and it has been till now not solved, and in classical physics this is considered to be the last unsolved problem in classical physics, that is understanding a proper mathematical description of turbulence. So whatever description of turbulence we will be having will be very elementary, just to give you a qualitative picture, and that we will do in the next class. Thank you.